Hey, Jill. Thanks for joining. Um,
Hi.
yes, we're talking. We don't have Crystal this week, and we're talking. Crystal had to go and drop her daughter off to school. So, congratulations to Crystal and Faith, and to their families for a lot for her going to school. I'm so excited. Um, so this week it's me and Jill, and so what we're doing is we're talking about helping our kids to become more independent. Um, One thing that I've been doing is I do have a TikTok page. I'm becoming more familiar with TikTok. But I'm becoming what I did this week was I put a video on there of Morgan eating. And Jill, I'm sure you have, Jill can speak on this too because Jill has worked with Morgan. Again, Jill, we met because Jill started watching Morgan. But one thing that I have started doing, and I should have probably started doing it a lot earlier, is making Morgan, helping her to understand that she's capable of doing things on her own. Um, and so that's one thing that I'm teaching her more of is how to be more independent. So that's what our session is on tonight. So on TikTok, I did put a video of Morgan eating. Um, and one thing that I'm learning is that she goes to Kennedy Krieger, and they allow her to be as independent as she wants to be. So when she comes home, naturally, she wants to keep that going. So one thing that I would want to encourage all parents is to help their kids to become more independent. Jill, can you jump in on that? I don't know. I know your boys are more functionable, but is that something that you had to end up doing at some point as they were developing?
Definitely, I had to force myself to hold back from helping them with everything. It's just easier to tie their shoes than letting them, try it for 7 minutes type thing. So I had to literally force myself because it's so hard not to just automatically go into mob mode and get it done. And trainer was really sharp with him, short with him, and the harness, the thing over the head and everything. And it was because it was fine motor and he can't do it. And um, so you have to realize their strengths and weaknesses because it's just frustrating to them when when something is hard and they do need help with something. You have to know what to accommodate with and not. Um, I also, once they get to a certain age, I'll allow Zach also, but I let them take part of their IEP meetings and their IEP, their accommodations, because I'm not going to school. I don't know whether it's easier to go up the stairs or take the elevator pass.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just easier to have them sit in on the meetings and be able to talk. And I think it's fair. I think if they're able to, mature enough to, I think they need to be involved in decisions like that. I do that
That's
with
funny.
medication too. Once Zach reaches a certain age, I'll give them choice as to whether they like the medication, if it's working for them, that kind of stuff.
That's funny that you do that because again, of course, Morgan is nonverbal. But
That's
I
that's
haven't
all I
heard
can think of now.
no, I haven't heard. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was talking, but you weren't hearing me. I said that's funny that you mentioned that you let them sit in on the IEPs. I never even thought about that. And I guess for me, because Morgan is nonverbal, I've never even thought about that. But is that something, Jill, that the kids, like the school, recognizes or allows them to, or encourages them to do, like to sit in on the IEPs?
Um, I think once, as long as the child is able to, um, discuss things. When and behaviorally, you have to take into their behaviors. I know that one time I had taken Zach in and they were like, wait, is he's going to stay? And they were kind of like hesitant. And I was like, oh no. Because at the moment, no. Maybe next year he might be able to though. He may be able to. If not this coming year, um, eighth grade probably. But I've never had them say no.
That she can add, but not saying she couldn't add anything. Because one time I've been going to this, I've been a part of this program for a year, and it's funny that they have different presentations each month, and one of the presentations was the mother and the son, and the son was wheelchair bound. He is nonverbal. That I mean, he doesn't verbalize things, um, but he had all the equipment where I don't know. I mean, it was magnificent, but if he thought it would come up under the computer. And it was funny because the mom said something that was so profound for me. She said that they went somewhere and she was speaking for her son, and she said, I'm speaking for my son because he can't speak for himself. She said, I had to learn. She said, he gave me such a look. She said, but I had to learn that he can speak for himself. And from that point forward, something to say, even though he wasn't verbalizing it the same way that we say that they can verbalize what others can understand. They got everything in place for him to be able to verbalize and say things that he wants to say. And I mean, when I say that was so awesome, because another person came in there and he was like, one thing um, that used to anger him is when people say that they speak for their kids because they're going to be their kids voice. And it really hit home to me, because for me, I don't say that Morgan doesn't have a voice. She does, because she can speak. I can hear her. But I guess when it comes to understanding cognitively, her understanding, what she's saying, or, being able to easily make a decision, I think that's where it comes in. So after they said that, I was just like, wow, I never thought about it where I'm saying that people are taking her choice away. I guess sometimes so do I. I thought that was so profound. Um, but
It's sad because
yeah,
it's hard to know
yes,
what's right and wrong
yes,
sometimes.
you're right, Jill. And I think ultimately, as parents, you're trying to make the best choice for them that we know. You're trying to do the best for them. And I think that's even with Jeremy. I'm doing no different with Morgan than what I'm doing with Jeremy. And for me, when Morgan doesn't have, from my understanding, she doesn't have an understanding of what could be safe for her, what could be harmful for her, what could be good for her, what could be bad for her. So when people say that, I understand what they're saying, but I was just like, okay, so what do I do? Let her sit back and make choices for herself that could potentially end up in something being a danger for her.
Oh, I totally agree. I know
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah. So when they said that, it made me really, really think when I was saying that I'm her voice. She does have a voice, but is her voice going to be recognized or understood? Is her choice going to be something that someone will understand? If you put certain things in her face, now I do give her these choices. For instance, when it's snack time, when she goes to the refrigerator, okay, she opens the crisper and she's able to pick out and show me what she wants. So, as many times, as much as possible, I try my best to allow her to make decisions for herself. And I think as she's getting older, she has enough understanding around our home where she can make choices for herself, and it's just, you respect that. I try to respect her choices as much as possible.
Same. I try to also.
Yeah.
Um, Always makes me sad when the boys tell me they don't like the cute clothes I was picking out for them. I miss
Oh,
those days.
yeah. So now for sure, I
I
guess you
know.
have no choice in that. You have no say so in that, Jill, huh?
really do. I asked this year if Zach wants to pick out his own T-shirts because I get cute little T-shirts. I wear little T-shirts, so I get him and Jamie little gaming T-shirts or whatever. And this year he'll pick out his own.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah, so some of the other things that I found, like I said, as far as her meals, she used to have a table, and I will say we kept it in the kitchen. It was called the Door to Explorer table. Morgan knew it was her table. I didn't even understand at that point how she was kind of flexing and showing her independence at that point because we had a table, put it in the middle of the kitchen, and that's when I would allow her, here I am saying allow, but I would give her her spoon and everything and allow her to feed herself. But she just made such a mess sometimes. I was leery of did she get enough food in her mouth? Um, and then I was just sometimes like I think we talked before we got on, Jill. Um, I know for me, being a single mom, everything was a planned action, and my day was planned, my evenings were planned, and my whole day consisted of how do I get in the bed a lot earlier, what can I eliminate to get in the bed, because for my whole day was jam packed. I was tired, and so anything that I could eliminate out of the way to help myself get in the bed earlier, to get them in the bed earlier, so that I can have my time to myself every day. That was my goal. It really was.
right,
And sometimes I would, you know, feed her. I would feed her even as she started getting better with her feeding. Sometimes I'm like, I'll do it. Um, and what that did, because it really, like I put on TikTok the video, it really hindered me. I didn't even realize how much it was hindering me, but it hindered me from several things. It hindered me from eating properly myself. Many other times I wasn't even eating properly. I was hurrying up and doing what the times I was giving her food when I got little breaks. I would just take and eat my food. So I was getting
right,
indigestion, trying to hurry up and focus on her feeding herself. And then I deprived her of becoming more independent because she was doing so well with her hand and eye coordination and everything. For me, with a lot of the disabled children, a lot of the things are therapy all the way around. Those were occupational therapy skills that they were
mm-hmm.
working on with her at school. But for me, it was like she was doing it at school, but I wasn't enforcing it when she came home. It's the same as me having Jeremy to learn math. When he comes home and he's doing homework, it's supposed to be to enforce and reinforce what he's been taught at school. But I wasn't taking that into consideration when it came to Morgan because, again, for me, my goal was how can I get this done quickly? I was cooking, I was washing the dishes, I was cleaning. But ultimately, what I want parents to take away from this is you're doing them a disservice. The stuff that they're
Right.
learning
But
at school, you're supposed to be reinforcing it at home. And I know sometimes it's so time consuming, but you have to reinforce it, and it has to, it helps you in the long run.
it highlights the fact that it puts such a disadvantage in so many ways for the entire family
It does.
with no support system in place for us. I mean, you're the least greedy person I've ever known, and you're, feeding your daughter instead of, having to clean up after her simply because you want to get enough sleep
Yeah.
so you can go to work tomorrow and do it all over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. That's that. And there's nothing. We shouldn't be in this position in the first place.
I agree.
But I mean, it just goes to show you that this is what happens when we don't have any help through the government. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
just sad.
It's like
And a
Groundhog
lot of
Day. It's like
yep,
Groundhog Day. Yeah, the movie Groundhog Day, where it's like every day is a reflection of the day before, and then the day before.
yep, and
Mm-hmm.
then you got to think of how is a single disabled parent handling this, and I just and what about the mentally ill? It just how I don't know how people just keep it together. I mean, I know I did it, but just because I did it doesn't mean anyone else should do it. It's just there's so much
It is.
that encompasses having a disabled person in the family.
It is. And I think for me,
It really is.
honestly, it's you hit it on a nail. I think it's a lot of the things when we came home, Morgan was more sickly. There was a lack of time. I
It's
mean,
time restraint.
yeah,
Yeah, time restraint.
yeah. So for
I
me,
mean,
yeah.
I chose to do every therapy under the sun for my oldest
Mhm.
and ran ourselves ragged, but I was told to. I was told he needs OT, PT, speech, ABA, therapeutic horseback riding, martial arts would be good for him. And like, so I had him, we did art therapy, we did theater camp, we did everything but music because I couldn't find music within a I'm surprised I didn't do it. But within an hour's drive, I would have had to have like gone to Columbia or Rockville, I think.
Mhm.
So I did everything and I just burnt ourselves out. Um, and you don't want your kids eating fast food, but do you want them to eat at 9 o'clock at night instead? I mean,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? So,
Yep.
and who's going to have the energy to make something when you
Yeah.
get home too? So
Yeah.
you eat on the road or you pull over and eat. Like I remember we'd get French fries and we'd pull over because we'd want to eat them hot, and take 7 minutes to eat it, and then we were on our own, back on the road. So I mean, it's just constant. And then you got the phone calls of, depending on what your child is like at school, and you got all the IEP meetings. How do people handle that with all the,
Mhm.
with your work? I mean, it's,
It's
and
overwhelming.
then yeah, and then the other kids just have orders shouted at them
Mhm.
because that's all you have time to do, and you're running on empty.
Yeah. You're absolutely
So you're
right.
just trying to get everyone to bed,
Yeah. And it's like the
and
next day you be like, oh,
refreshed
I'm
for
going to do
tomorrow.
better. I'm going to do better. I know for me, I was just like, okay, I would do better tomorrow. But it just got to the
Hmm.
point. It was just sometimes I was just so exhausted. And I know
Yeah.
Denise said it's a balancing act. It really is. It definitely is a balancing act. Um, One day, I think with Morgan, her independence blows my mind now because one thing that most people encourage is for me to put her in diapers. It took forever for Morgan to get potty trained, and she's still not fully potty trained. But one thing it's certain things I took a stand on, and I was just like, nah, I'm not doing that. Because one thing that I did say is, I'm not going to limit her. I'm not going to limit her. I'm not going to make her believe that this is the best that she can do. So some of the things I did, but some of the things I was just like, nah, I took a stand on it because I just was like, no, I can't see Morgan walking around in diapers all her life when if I tell her to go sit down, she goes and sits down. I think some of the things I felt like I would be doing her a disservice. So for me, even now to this day, Morgan goes to the potty, and I still call it the potty. I know I still look at her as a little kid, but she goes to the bathroom, and she may not ask for the bathroom, but she now comes in the house and she'll sit on top of the potty. That's a sign for us that she has the potty. So when we go and take her pants down, she uses the potty. And that's where that positive affirmation comes in. It encourages her to keep doing it. So even though she's nonverbal, even though she can't say, even though she's not using her voice, because we talked about her being nonverbal, she does verbalize it, but we can't understand her the way that I would understand Jeremy. But she is vocalizing something. It's not recognizable. So she is vocalizing it through her behavior. So I for those parents out there that want to stand strong on certain things, if you feel as though your child can do it, don't let anybody else tell you that they can't. Because they continue to
Right.
tell me, oh, she may never be potty trained, and I was like, that's says who. And so for me, that's
Right.
one thing that I stood strong on. And as of today, she has never, when she got out of pull ups, I did not put her back in any type of I did not put her back in any type of pamper, any type of any. She wears like she wears like a depend pad, like a little pad to protect her. It's like an extended panty liner, but it does serve the purpose, and it does help her to stay in panties instead of going in putting her into a pamper. So that's one thing that I
And
stood
she's
strong
got to
on.
feel better.
Yes.
She's got to feel better out of diapers, I
Mhm.
would think.
Yeah, and I do believe one
So,
day she is going to go and she is going to tell us she can use the potty, because the fact that she's coming in, lifting up the potty and sitting on it, but just not pulling down her pants, that's telling us that she can, she's not vocalizing it, but with her nonverbal communication, she's allowing us to know that she has to use the potty. I look at that
thinking
as
on it,
that's an accomplishment.
I I would think that handling clothing might be very difficult for her.
What's that?
So
I'm
if she
sorry.
could, she might handling her clothing,
Mm.
pulling, her clothing up and down might be difficult for her. So
She's
maybe that's
done
the
it.
only reason she's not doing it.
I think,
Has she? Okay.
yeah, she has done it when she wants to escape. When she wants to escape a setting, she will take down her pants. You know, she disrobes.
Oh,
So, but I
I
think
forgot about that.
it's easier for her to take her pants down versus pulling them up. But what we've been doing is
Right.
encouraging her. She pulls them up as far as her hips, and then we help her the rest. But again, it's not
Right.
consistent. But that shows me that she can do it.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Another thing that we've
And also
done. Go
she
ahead. Go ahead, Jennifer.
shows all she shows her communication through her expressions,
She does. She really.
I think.
Yeah, she
I
does.
mean, she definitely, if she's happy, if she's, proud of herself, the high five, the
Yeah.
if she's angry, I mean, she definitely shows through her expressions.
But you know
So
that
it's
show,
there.
and that show that we had, we're gonna do that over when Crystal comes back with the positive affirmations. I
Right.
definitely believe that that's part of her wanting to get the satisfaction from doing the things that we're asking her to do, and she also wants to show us that she's capable of doing it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we used to give
I
her
agree.
1 step commands. Now we give her 2 and 3 step commands. You know me, I like to push her more and more. Hey, Maureen, can you go and turn off that light? Do you
Mm-hmm.
know she turns off the light switch and comes back and smiles at me? And I'm not even gonna lie to y'all.
Oh,
I give her commands to do different things that I didn't even know she was able to do, but she shows me that she could do it. And I could ask her, Morgan, can you go get me your shoes? She will go get her shoes and bring them back to me. So
oh yeah,
it's
that's
amazing.
crazy.
Yeah, if she's playing out in the garage and I tell her to come in and close the door, she does it when she wants to. But the problem is, the thing is that she shows me her independence, whereas sometimes you
Hmm.
have to push them more and more just to let them show you what they're able to do. Um,
Right. And the 1, 2, 3 steps is always good because most our kids have executive function deficits.
mhm,
So sometimes, you know, 2 steps is all they can do at the
mhm,
moment,
mhm,
And
mhm.
so and then once they have that down, you add 3 steps.
Yeah.
And then if you're using the the ABA cards or something, once they have that down and they're learning to read, you can write out the steps. I mean, I we even had to write steps for on sticky notes when my oldest was in middle school to make sure that he remembered to simply turn in his homework because
Wow.
he would it literally went over his head somehow,
Mm,
like tuned out when all the other students turned in their homework
mhm.
and he wouldn't. He had 100%. It was finished. He was one of the first finished and he got a 0 for it
Wow.
because he
Wow.
didn't turn it in when everyone else turned it in. And it was so